Om Shri Sai Ram. In this modern day and age where there is feminism, there's equality of the gender and break the glass ceiling, all these things are happening. Sometimes things often get smudged, I remember being in a group interview that Swami granted the students of the 12th grade. They were passing out, they were graduating from school to college, and Swami had called them all in. At that time, Swami made it very clear. He said, why am I giving education to the boys? So that they earn a livelihood and living to support the family. Why am I giving education for the girls? So that they build, they take good care of children and build pillars for society. Now, taken out of context, I might get attacked by so many people saying, are you meaning to say that only women should do this, men should do that? Swami said this, and when Swami says, we begin with the thing that this is right. Whatever, maybe I'm not saying that women aren't as capable as men. I'm just saying that women are men and men are made differently, and there is a role for the father, there is a role for the mother. I'm saying this because many times people ask, what has Swami said about homosexuality, about, gay parents or the other parents, same gender parents. Swami has not explicitly said anything like that. But Swami has made it very clear that there is a role that a father has to play because of the gender of the father, and there is a role the mother has to play because of the gender of the mother, and that gets compromised if it is the same biological gender parents for a child. And the same thing happens even in a family. There are some things that the woman does best. No man can replace that. There are some things that the man does best. No woman can replace that. Just have to accept that and recognize. The problem comes, all this thing about feminism and women wanting to break the shackles is because of the horrible things that men have done in suppressing the women and not giving importance. Money is given so much importance. Swami would say, if you actually start billing for the work hours that the mother does at home, she will be earning more than the father. 100%. This has to be remembered by the men, then the women will not feel the need to go out and prove themselves. Because only when there is no appreciation, when there is no understanding of the important work that is being done, there is a need to prove along the same metrics. I also want to achieve the same position, want to achieve the same work. So this is something very important that we have to remember, that there is a differentiation that has been biologically brought in, nature has made it like that, and we accept it and we celebrate it. It is at this point I would like to again summon the help and assistance of my wife Pooja, because that is what will offer a balanced perspective from the other side as well.
In 2002, when we were blessed for a class interview with Swami, I had a few questions in my mind, and very graciously he answered all of them. Without actually putting everything in front of him, he actually answered all of them. One of those things that he mentioned was the role of a woman. He said, all of you have learned a lot. Tomorrow, if you get married and your family needs you, you should go out and you should take up a job. Many of us were surprised. This was the first time that any of us had heard him publicly mentioning that it was okay for a woman to have a career or, to think of taking up a job. He said, your family needs you and you should stand up for it. You should put to use all the education that you have. But once you have a child, your first priority should be your child. At that time, leave everything else aside, give your 100% because the child needs its mother. After you have done your responsibility towards your child, once the child doesn't need you physically by his side, you can go ahead and go back to your job. These words brought a new energy into many of us because we realized that we have a lot to do. Personally, I know it is a great deal. If a woman has to take a break after having a child, it takes a lot more than just those 1 or 2 years, but it takes a toll on the professional work front. After a gap, opportunities are not that great. After a gap, it takes much more time to get to where you would be, probably. After you become a parent, you realize that these moments are really precious. Many of these can never be compared with anything else that you could possibly achieve. I'm not saying that professional dreams are not possible for women. It's just that maybe you need to take a pause and give that time to your child when they need it. It's not always easy with children. Even little ones who are 1 or 2 years old, we find it really difficult at times. We are learning as parents and they are learning as children. But as they say, with practice, things become easier. We need to remind ourselves, we need to remind the children about all the values that we have, about all the values that we know, and they will pick up what they see around them. My elder daughter Bhakti, when she was a child, when she was 2 years old, I used to tell her, we need to keep things around us clean. And I used to tell her, pick up after yourself. People around me would laugh saying, she's just 2 years old. She will learn when she grows big. But from whatever I had learned as a child, as I was in Swami's school, the hostel life taught us that we have to do all our work ourselves. So from a very young age of 5.5, we used to do most of the stuff that we need to by ourselves with a little help from the adults around us. But as you can imagine, with having so many children in one place, it wouldn't always be possible for the teacher to be there for each and every child. So most of the time we would be doing our own things. So I would also keep telling Bhakti, pick up after yourself, try to do stuff that you could possibly do, physically without any help from me. And when I put her in school, preschool that is, at 2.5, and the first day when I went to pick her up, I was really happy to hear her teacher say, every activity that we did, there was a group of kids that were there. So there were about 10 children with 2 teachers around them. And both the teachers said after every activity, they actually had to spend 5 minutes, not for completing or for anything else, but because Bhakti made sure that everybody picked up and put things back in their place. And they were really surprised because this was the first time they were seeing a child so small trying to tidy up the place. Usually children would just jump from one activity to another. They would be excited and they were not really keen on keeping the place clean. But she was one person who even told the teacher, when the teacher said, it's all right, go to the next activity, she said, no, my mother says we need to clean up, so we need to finish this and then go. So they actually put everything back and then went on to the next activity. It's a very small thing, but it made me realize that all those days when I would just keep on telling her the same thing over and over, it actually made an impact. She remembered, and the first time when I wasn't around her, she went ahead and did what she had learned. Many times if you have more than one child, you will see that there is a lot of fight for the parents' attention. The parents need to keep reminding the elder one about how important they are, about how they will always have that special place, about how their place is not going to be compromised in any way after having a sibling. Even I faced the same thing with my elder daughter Bhakti. So all through my 8th and 9th month of my second pregnancy, I kept telling her that we are going to have a little baby home, you're going to have a younger brother or sister, and about how everything will be shared, about how everything in our house will be for both of them. And she was quite excited about it. In fact, she would keep saying that when the little one comes, I will do this, I will do that. And it went on. And after my delivery, when I came home, I think it was a little bit of a shock for her, because initially she was happy to see a small baby at home. She felt it was like a doll. But after some time she realized that everything around was just changed for her. Because till then, everything would be around her. Suddenly, everything was around this little baby. And more than anything, I think she felt that her parents weren't there with her. she had to share her parents. Now, I had told her, you need to share everything in the house. I did not realize I needed to tell her that you have to share even me with your younger brother or sister. So, after 2 days, she suddenly came to me and she said, Mama, I want to ask you something. So, I said, yes, Bhakti, what do you want? She said, everything is nice, but can we ask the doctor to send this baby back for some time? I just want you to me. I don't want to share. So, at that time I realized that yes, we need to also tell her that it's not just about the things, the toys, but it is also about sharing the parents. We still have some days where we need to address that, but with a little reassurance, repeated reassurance rather, children understand, and once they have that bond with their siblings, it will become easier.
I must say that this is a journey that is very, very individual, because each child is very different. We can only share our experiences and draw inspiration from one another. I have drawn inspiration, during the recent visit to Australia, New Zealand. There are many, but one brother Venkat comes to my mind as a father. How many times he kept acknowledging the importance of his wife in being able to do what he's doing. I think that's so important for us men to remember, because if we don't remember that, that's when the problems start. And speaking of mothers, I remember Sister Nitya. I was blessed to be hosted by their family, Sister Nitya, and with 3 kids there, how she's managing, it's amazing. Every morning begin with prayers, and I found it so inspiring and motivational, and it is a mutual sharing where we are all deriving inspiration from one another. And as I said, the most important thing I would like to say to any young parent, any elder parent, any parent at all, is whatever happens, put in the best efforts to build